Ladies and gentlemen, CHGO Bulls is about to be in your face. Coming up, we got special guest Doug Thonus with us, man. We will be talking Isaac Okoro, Josh Giddey, and Ayo Dosunmu, ladies and gentlemen. He's got some new news. He's happy. He put a vlog out. We'll talk about it next. Yes, Friday is upon us, ladies and gentlemen, and the joy that I have in my heart, I hope you can really feel it because it is real. Welcome in, CHGO Bulls, in your face, in your ears. Thank y'all for being here. I am Big Dave. That man right there, that is perfectly coiffed, even remote perfectly coiffed. That is Will the GOAT Gottlieb. Make sure you
Can I pause you right there, Dave?
At Will_Gottlieb. Yes, sir.
Because I've always wanted to say this and I've never had the chance.
Okay.
We have a very special guest today. I look to my right. And lo and behold, it's the great one, Doug Thonus. How you doing, brother?
That was not a bad Fred Pfeiffer. I'm
pretty good.
Pretty impressed. Yeah,
I've been working hard on that one.
I'm also pretty jealous of your hair, man. Like that was maybe like 20 years ago. Like this is what you got to look forward to. This part on the other
how
side.
long I can hang on to it.
No, it's amazing. I got to try to match the energy of you guys. That's going to be a challenge, but I'm going to do my best.
Oh, you'll be fine. Trust me, man. Like I'll have all the energy for GOAT and you. It's all right, bro. It's how I roll. But before we get into it, man, definitely want to let the people know about the new Die Hard promo that we got happening and we got going on, y'all. We have just launched something brand new, the CHGO Die Hard Tailgate tier. What's that? What I get with that? Well, of course, we got the base tier, which is awesome, and you get some cool stuff with that. But that tailgate tier, y'all, includes 2 free Bears tailgate tickets every year, a free CHGO shirt, full Die Hard access, and much, much more. And you don't have to be a new member to get this. If you're already a Die Hard, you can upgrade with a pro-rated discount. Just log in, and your personalized upgrade price will appear right on the site. And you will get all of that for $89.99. That is a $175 value you are getting for $89.99. So go ahead and grab that. Go ahead and get that. Meet us at the Bears tailgate and let us yell about the Packers getting Michael Parsons, but still being happy that the Bears season is about to start. But we're here to talk Chicago Bulls with our guy, Doug Thonus. I want to say this about Doug first. Doug hates praise, but he's about to get a heaping helping of that right now because that's what I do. I talk a lot about C-Red Fred and how important he was to me in my podcasting life as far as doing a Bulls podcast. Right next to him is Doug Thonus, because when Fred is taking me to those shows to watch Bulls podcasts being done, Doug was the one who was doing those podcasts. And he definitely took a liking to me and took me under his wing. He's invited me to his house many, many times. I've had lunch there. I met his beautiful family. Those draft parties made so many awesome connections for me. And I had so much fun there. We've hung out on many occasions. I've been on his show several times. We've just had really deep discussions and talks, man. And I really, truly value him just as a person. And I'm just really happy that me and him are this kind of cool, bro, because he is a wonderful person. And that's the nicest things I'm going to say about you. I won't do it no more, Doug. But he is from the Big Red Bus with C-Red Fred. Yes.
The Big Red Bus.
The Big Red Bus.
I would like to echo that. I would like to echo Doug. I mean, he's got a lot of good nicknames. The Great One is up there, but the Podfather is up there too. Doug is one of the first Bulls podcasters. He's like one of the first people talking about the Bulls and like draft picks and strategy and cap space and cap sheet stuff. Like he's had a huge influence on how a lot of people, including myself, think about all this stuff. So always really excited to talk with you, Doug. And happy to have you on. And you guys last night released an episode, the Big Red Bus podcast, with Fred Pfeiffer, C-Red Fred, a guy that we know and love from the Big Red Bus podcast. You guys were talking. It's called the Big Red Bus Podcast.
Oh, got it. I got it.
You should. It helps if you repeat it, then you'll remember it. If I say Big Red Bus and then you say Big Red Bus,
Big Red Bus,
and then you'll remember it. Yeah,
it's my favorite color.
But you guys were talking about Josh Giddey, and sort of your opinion about where everything stands at this point in terms of the summer kind of starting to dwindle and the season getting closer, and still no deal is done. General thoughts about how the Bulls have played it, about what you think should happen, what you think will happen.
Well, before I get into that, I just want to say and return some of this praise. I'm like basically an old man of podcasting now. And it's amazing to see everyone who I've worked with do so much better than I ever did. Like it's awesome to see how much success you guys are having. Like you've made actually a career out of this. Like this was like kind of a side hobby for me. It's like incredible to watch everyone I've known just exceed everything I did. It's awesome. It's like super cool. One of these like funny things is Shams used to have a blog on the same site as me. We used to talk for like hours on AOL Instant Messenger. That's like really dating these conversations. I don't think Shams would remember me or answer my text message now, but it was it's crazy to watch people. Nate Duncan was another guy like I talked with a ton. Love him, love you guys. Like it's just crazy to see how awesome people have become in this field over time. It's really cool. Then on to your question though, I see it kind of just playing out as probably almost like the worst case scenario. I think which will happen to me is like a 3-year deal or a 1-year deal. To me, I'm like, I just sign and trade him or do a 5-year deal. Like just get out and get assets, or say like, we're going to build around Giddey because he's such a unique player. It's going to take time to get all the right pieces around him and just say, I'm going to commit for a really long time. But I think we're going to end up in the spot where we don't want to take on that much risk. And we do kind of the AK thing, which is I'm going to take sort of this sort of quasi-conservative, non-definitive approach to everything, sort of leave my options open, but have no real upside in what I do, but maybe not have too bad of a floor. Like, I just feel like that's the Bulls' approach to everything. And I think that's like what gets you into the play-in every year. And like, I'm just not excited about that. I'm not talking about championship or bust, but I want a plan that gets me 50 wins. Like a plan that gets me 50 wins. And I don't think we really aim for that. It's like all these things where there's never any high ceiling moves. We also don't want really low floor moves. And that's where I think we'll land. So I bet it'll be like a 3-year deal for like 70 million is if I had to guess something like that.
Can you, because I've kind of come to the same conclusion about like either trying to like have him take the qualifying offer, a 1-year deal or whatever, so that you get more information and then you can move forward from there, or the longer term things that you can at least guarantee that there's some like potential upside on the out years of that. Can you kind of explain your thought process and just kind of break down what that all means to you in terms of the short term versus the longer term deal?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much what you said. So the thought is, if I did a long-term deal, and who knows if Giddey would agree to this, I'd actually pay him more per year if we got more years. But say, and I look at like 25 million a year is the number I think they'll ultimately land on. There was that Athletic article that said the most anyone would pay him was 25, but there were 6 teams at 25. Like if I could do a 25 million AAV deal for 5 years, and then I could also structure it in a descending way, it's like the last years 4 and 5 of that deal are probably around 21 million or so. And that then is going to be a much better value where the cap is. And you figure it's going to take you 3 years to build all the pieces around him. He needs a lot of unique pieces. So years 4 and 5 would be when you hope that the team is really good. And now you've got him on a really cheap deal. And that gives you a lot of leverage to have all of the other pieces around it. And that's why you potentially get upside, assuming he improves and things like that. The 1-year deal you mentioned, like it's kind of in some ways more conservative because I think you'll know after 1 year, is this a thing you want to do? This year we had that kind of 2/3 bad year, 1/3 amazing year. And if after a full season, we'll probably have some pretty good feedback about where that's going to go. But then if you do the 1-year deal, you'll kind of be in this low upside position of signing him at whatever the market value is on the new deal. So it's like, if he does really great, now you're going to pay him 35 million a year. You won't make a mistake. He'll be worth 35 million a year, but you also won't have any real added value relative to the market. You'll just kind of sort of break even on an expensive player. And maybe that's worse than paying him 35 now and he becomes a bust or whatever else. But again, I'd be looking at ways that create some type of transactional upside to me in terms of like value per dollar. And the qualifying offer, kind of makes sure you don't make a big mistake, but it also doesn't really give you that upside either.
So how do you feel about just Josh Giddey, the player in general? Like when you watch him, is he more in the middle of what you saw in the first half and the second half, or maybe he's a little bit more of what we kind of saw in the second half?
I think in the role he played in the second half, outside of the 46% three-point shooting, he's probably that player. That's a pretty big caveat. If you remove the 46%, drop it down to 35%, I think his true shooting percentage would have dropped to like 57%, which is now right at league average. But that's still a really good player. And so I think that's fine. Like I have no problems thinking he'll be worth at least $25 million a year. And that's kind of the number I would try to get him at. The problem is if you get better players around him and he plays off the ball, where does he go? Like, and I'm sure you guys have discussed this like 10,000 times. It's not like a secret. There's nothing else going on, but it's like all of a sudden, if you have a star next to him, that star probably is going to take a lot of shots. That star is probably going to have the ball in his hands. And once the ball's out of Giddey's hands, is he still constantly forcing double teams onto your star player? And it's hard to see a scenario where that's not the case for me, because even though his three-point percentage was up, you look at the form and he still looks like a seventh grader heaving the ball at the rim. He's got a slow release. He's never going to be like a step back shooter or whatever unless he fixes that. And you didn't see a lot of change of that over last year. Maybe that's because it was a contract year and maybe you don't want to rework your form in a contract year. Maybe he'll rework it this summer. I don't know. But yeah, I just don't see a lot of upside on that shot without a major rework. And I think that's just hard to do. It's hard to, just rework your shot completely. So that's the big question to me, is not like how good he'll be now. Like I think he'll be a guy who can lead you to 41 wins as a primary ball handler. The question is, if you get better players, what's your upside with him? How is he going to fit on that team? That was the question Oklahoma City didn't have a good answer to and traded him to us for where we're positioned today. Like we're so far away from winning a title like that. Maybe that's fine. Like I think the Bulls would love a guy who gets some 41 wins, and Josh Giddey could be that guy. So, I mean, I think we should totally sign him if we're not going to do a much larger, fuller rebuild. Moving Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, other players, get as many picks as you can. And we clearly have no interest in that. So I think the Bulls and Giddey will get something done for that reason.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned this. And I think it's in line with how I've been thinking about this, which is like kind of no matter what you pay him, you're paying him to be like your max player just because of his skill set and his limitations. So like whether he's making 20 or 25 million or like 45, you're paying him like a 45, $50 million guy because he's got the ball in his hand so much. So I'm curious from your perspective, and given that I don't think he is going anywhere, how would you try to build around him? Like what are the kind of pieces that you would go after to really accentuate his strengths and limit his or hide his limitations?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is you need like weird unicorn players around him, and that's why it's so hard, right? Like, are you going to find a great defensive center that also shoots threes? Sure, if we had like Victor Wembanyama, that'd be great. Like he would fit perfectly next to Giddey. We're probably not going to get the next Victor Wembanyama. Yeah. So yeah, that'd be hard. Finding good defenders, good shooters, you need some combination of that. The problem is if he's not good at either of those things, it's really, really hard to find four players that are good at both of those things, especially two of them who are big men. Like the amount of big men who are good defenders and shoot threes, like there's, I don't know what, like 2-3 guys in the league that might be in that category. So then the flip side is maybe what the Bulls are kind of doing with Noah and with Modest is like, let's get athletic, rangy players, and we're going to play super up pace, and we're going to just try and have high tempo. And I think that's like good maybe to build a upper 40s win team. I think it becomes a little gimmicky when you get to the playoffs, but I think you could have a fun season having like a run and gun team with a lot of athletic players. Okoro probably fits in that mold too. Like you could see that type of team doing well if Okoro is the best version of Okoro and Modest is the best version of Modest. You could see having like a run and gun team, forces turnovers, just gets on the move a lot. But it's hard to see where that really gets you out of round one. But again, we haven't even made the playoffs since 4 years ago. So that's maybe fine. Like that would be a way more fun season than we've experienced. And I would be pretty okay with that.
Yeah, I feel you. We're going to take a break right here. I do have another Josh Giddey question for you, and I'm glad you touched on Isaac Okoro because We haven't spent a lot of time talking about him, and I would love to have that discussion with somebody who is around Isaac Okoro's biggest fan. So, yeah, want to have that discussion. Make sure you're hitting the like button. Drop your comments below, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be right back on CHGO Bulls. Let's get real on them. The world's gone soft. That's what I've been told is the world's gone soft. Participation trophies are being handed out just for showing up. Nobody wants to go outside anymore. You know, you want to give me some drink, you know, that doesn't kick you in the thirst. I need to be kicked in the thirst. And that's what RC Cola does, man. It's the original cola. And if you're from Chicago and you don't like RC, I kind of don't trust you. It's an OG cola in a world of spineless soft drinks. No trends, no gimmicks, no glow-ups. RC hasn't changed its stripe since 1905 because it didn't need to. It's that same bold, crisp flavor that it has always been. So do yourself a favor, grab some RC at your local store, stock up for all your end of summer parties, back to school celebrations, or just simply watching the game. RC is the move for whatever you are doing because RC Cola is Chicago.
Big Dave, whatever the sport, you know where to bet. That would be our friends at Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports is sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has those high betting limits, those low cap holds, and exceptional customer service. No AI chatbots whatsoever. Thank you very much, Matt Peck. Bet on all your favorite sports teams every game this season. Cubs still going strong. Will they make the playoffs? Don't know. Bears starting up in about 10 days. Can't wait. Spreads, props, futures, live lines. Circa Sports has it all. You can fund and bet like a pro anywhere and anytime in Illinois. So download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Do us a favor, play some bets on the Bears. You must be 21 or older, though. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Rolling along with you, CHGO Bulls, Big Dave with Go Gottlieb, our guy Doug Thonus from the Big Red Bus podcast. Make sure you're hitting that like button because Katie is back, ladies and gentlemen. You can't slack on it no more. She is back. She will attack you. All right. Hit the like button. Make sure you're dropping those comments below. Shout out to the man, Mark K, who I saw in the comments as well. Doug, want to ask you about this final kind of Giddey question that I found fascinating when we discussed it this week. But Sam Vecini, my guy from the Game Theory podcast, also from The Athletic, he said he gave an option for Josh Giddey that I found interesting as far as what he could do as far as leverage in his contract. And he basically was saying he can sit out the start of the season. And the leverage that it gives him is since the Bulls are not a team that clearly doesn't want to tank and clearly does not want to lose games, not having Josh Giddey on the floor could absolutely impact that. Now, I think it's a nuclear option. It's, you know, kind of scorched earth kind of option for him, but an option nonetheless. How do you feel about that? And is it something that maybe he should be taking into consideration?
You know, I don't know if you saw this tweet of mine, because I don't think it resonated real high with anyone, but July 13th was the last day the Bulls could pull the qualifying offer on Josh Giddey. And I said, they should just pull it. There's no money out there. He's got nowhere else to go. And the worst case scenario for me, if I'm the Bulls, is he takes a qualifying offer. Josh Giddey goes somewhere else. Okay, I'm just going to rebuild. Now, I know the actual Bulls aren't going to do that. But like the second that October 1st deadline passes, I'd be like, yep, qualifying offer is gone. Just go sign with someone. You want to go sign with another team for the vet minimum? Like, be my guest. Like now you're going to either take my long-term offer or no offer at all, or you're going to go sign for way less somewhere else. And if you want to blow yourself up, go ahead. And that is a nuclear option. So part of this for me is I don't think I'm nearly as attached to Josh Giddey as I think Arturas Karnisovas is. So I'd be willing to also go nuclear and just be like, that's fine. Like, I don't see tons of upside starting my franchise with a super non-ideal player that needs unicorns around him to fit. Like, I totally get why we might do it because he's the guy we have and he is super talented. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons why you might want to do that in the short term. But like, if it just becomes at a price I don't want to do and I can't do something reasonable, I would reverse nuclear. So whether that would work for Josh Giddey, though, which is maybe I took this in a totally different direction of bringing my own nukes to the table. I think it would work. Like if Josh Giddey did it, like I don't think Arturas would bring out the nukes I would. I think I think they would start being like, oh crap, we have to do something. So I think that might be effective, but I don't think there's any way it's going to get to that. I think these guys, as soon as the time pressure hits, they're just gonna meet in the middle. I think like Josh Giddey asked for 30 million, and they're like, dude, come on, you're worth 25. We're just gonna offer 20. We're exactly the same apart from 25 that you are. I think that's intentional. I just think they're just gonna meet at 25 million at some point if it's a long-term deal or a little less on fewer years, and that's just gonna be what it is. So I do think that strategy might be effective, but for someone like me also playing game theory, I'd be like, all right, I got a nuke too, and this is what I'm doing. What's your move now? So we'll see what happens there.
Well, it's like the unwillingness to buy into a sunk cost. Like I think part of the issue with the way that Arturas has operated over all these years is that he like relies on the previous outcome in order to inform the upcoming decision. And so it's like he traded Caruso for Giddey, and then we had this season. And so you have to pay Giddey because of the progress that they made, as opposed to the way you're thinking about it, which I think is a risky play. But like in your mind, is it kind of just better to let him walk for nothing than to sign him to a contract that will turn out to be a bad one?
Yeah, I would let him walk rather than sign him to a bad deal. But it depends on your feeling of Josh Giddey. Like, I don't think it is unreasonable if someone were to say even 30 million a year is not a bad deal. Like in the role he's going to play for the Bulls, like I wouldn't pay him that much, but I could totally see why someone who likes Josh Giddey more than me would suggest he's worth 30 million. If you look at how much point guards are being paid, it's weird because he's such a unique player, right? Like I'm not a super huge fan of him, but you look at the stats and you're like, anyone with something even remotely comparable is like making probably 35 million. And so it's like, yeah, okay, he's got the defensive problems and he's got the shooting problems, but geez, like he could get better, right? Like maybe there's not tons of defensive upside, but he could be smarter, right? Like he could just get better at team defense, even if you pick on him one-on-one. He generates a decent amount of touches and turnovers at the end of last year. Like, I don't think he's just destined to be like bottom 10%. Like if he's like a, just mid-tier defender because of smarts and team defense and just can hit open 3-point shots, he could easily be worth 35 million. Like, I don't say I would project that. So I think in some ways there's not so much risk of a terrible contract, especially given the Bulls' very modest goals of probably just trying to get to the first round of the playoffs and their lack of other alternatives. So I think they will go into that sunk cost mentality. Like you said, like they seem completely opposed to doing a full rebuild, which is really the alternative to this. So I think Josh does have a lot of leverage in that sense of just knowing who he's negotiating with is not going to take any of the reasonable long-term alternatives.
Yeah. Fish agreeing with you, saying that was my perspective in July. It's just business. Alberto Hernandez saying some Bulls fans are attached to Caruso, so it hurts to see Giddey walk. Eco Bean saying give Giddey his 30 million, compare Josh Giddey's impact versus Zach LaVine's impact for the Chicago Bulls. I'm still going to say Zach's impact was a little better. He had a few more years on that, bro. That's all. But let's move on from that, man. I want to talk about Isaac Okoro and get into him a little bit because he feels like the kind of odd man out when it comes to talking about what the Bulls have been doing during this offseason. Made the trade for Lonzo Ball straight up. Bulls don't like, anything else but players straight up. So that's how it went. Isaac Okoro for Lonzo Ball. Wish him all the luck in the world in Cleveland for Lonzo Ball. But Isaac Okoro is such an interesting case to me, Doug. He's a guy who you look at him, you see the fit on this team that he can fill. They don't have a guy that's a true 3-and-D guy, and they've been missing that for a very long time. I call as I believe Goats called it a Patrick Williams-sized hole in their lineup. And we're trying to get Isaac Okoro to fill it. So a guy that can definitely play that defense and whose 3-point shooting has gotten better. And if you listen to See Red Fred, he'll be shooting in the high 40s from the 3-point line coming into the season and just be an incredible impact player. So are we underestimating Isaac Okoro's impact and just how you feel about the actual player?
I was surprised how negative people were on that transaction. Like when it was made, the general NBA vibe seemed to be like, well, the Bulls took on a bad contract for Lonzo Ball. And I thought, wow, that doesn't seem true to me. Like, I'm not saying Isaac Okoro was on this amazing deal, but 2 years and $8 million a year left, like that seems like a very reasonable price for Okoro to me. I think he definitely has some upside. I don't really believe he's a 3-and-D guy. Like, I don't see that 3-pointer as, really there so much, but he's a great defender. He's going to be great in transition. You're looking at a guy who's going to play with Josh Giddey, who wants to push the ball all the time. And I kind of mentioned earlier, I think the route this team has to success is being a up-tempo, turnover-oriented, fast-break team, and Isaac Okoro is going to thrive in that type of environment. I thought it was a fine transaction. The only thing I'd say about it is it's like, let's say Isaac Okoro is amazing and he has a great year. We've only got him for one more year, and then now he's an unrestricted free agent, and what are you doing? And that's kind of like the problem I have with all of the Bulls moves is it's like, if you look out into the future and you're like, well, what are you doing? There's like no real answer, because next year, say they have a decent year this year and they win 43 games and you're pretty excited about the team. Like, the whole team is basically unrestricted free agents next year, except for Patrick Williams, Isaac Okoro, and presumably Josh Giddey if you get him on a long-term deal, and Modest Buzelis and Noah Esenge. And but everyone else is going to contribute will be gone. And you're going to have to decide, do I want to give everyone raises to come back and now I'm up against the luxury tax right away for a team that can't grow? Or do I start letting people walk? And so you don't have, even if this move works out, it's like, for what? Like, you're going to have to rebuild the entire team next year basically anyway. And then you're going to have Okoro for one more year, then he's going to be gone. And so I just don't like the way they layer any of their transactions together to try and create some vision of what can happen in the future that excites me. It's like they just kind of look at each move in this teeny vacuum. And so I like this move a lot in a vacuum. I think it's a good move, but I don't see how they're going to piece this together over any longer period of time. And that's the part that is a consistent theme with how they're running the team.
We're going to get into Ayo a little bit on the other side of our next break, but I'm just curious, Doug, what you think about the way the rotation will shake out, because obviously Okoro, I think is more of a 2 than a 3. I think he'll probably have to guard a lot of threes just because there's not a lot of other options there for the Bulls. But basically Trey Jones is back. You've got Kobe. You've got presumably Giddey will be back. Okoro, and Ayo and Lonzo were out of the rotation at the end of the year. Trey was hurt. Like Ayo was also hurt. And they still played really well. You've got Herter in there. How do you think that, like, particularly the guard, and like, is it just going to be 3 guards at all times? Like, how do you see all these guys fitting together with some of the limitations that they have? Like, I know on the Big Red Bus podcast with your co-host Fred Pfeiffer is always talking about, you're always talking about like volume being a more important key than the 3-point percentage. And like, while you've got guys that have improved there in Giddey and Okoro, their volume isn't right where it needs to be to really have a successful, like, cohesive lineup together.
I've not thought this through at all, so this may be the worst idea ever. Just going to preface that. But Billy Donovan loves to go small. What do you think about them playing like 4 guards and then Modest at center and just trying to run people out of the gym? Like, I could just totally see us doing that. Or like Esenge at center. Like, I could totally see us trying to do that. We're going to do Noah, Modest, Okoro, like Ayo and Giddey or something like that, or like throw Kobe in there. Like, I think we're going to see lineups like that where we're going to play small and we're just going to try and run people out of the gym and just try and get lots of fast break points. So I think that'll be a bigger feature. If we go back a few years, you saw Derrick Jones Jr. Playing center a lot for the Bulls, and I think you might see something a little similar to that. I think even Javonte Green played center at times. Like, it's like 6'5" and like 200 pounds when he's playing center. Like, so I don't think we're like afraid to do stuff like that. So I think that might be how they mix all those guards, because you're right, there is a glut there.
No, I think you're dead on that. And small ball lineups will be in full effect. And having a guy like Isaac Okoro gives you, increases those options, for the Chicago Bulls to do that. But yeah, I think that's the way you can sneak Esenge into the game, is a small ball lineup with him at center, where you're not really asking him to do anything else but be tall and be aware. And that's it's not a hard thing, for a young rookie to do out there. So yeah, I think it could work like that. We're going to take our second break here. When we come back, we will dive into Ayo Dosunmu, ladies and gentlemen. He released a brand new vlog and some interesting stuff was said and seen on that vlog. We'll talk about it when we come back.
We love living in Cook County and in Chicago, the greatest city in the world, but overpaying for property taxes is something far too many Cook County residents are doing, and you do not have to be one of them. In Cook County, appeal windows can vary by township. They close rapidly and are very difficult to win, but now you can let our friends at Ownwell and their team of experts ensure you are prepared when it counts. In Cook County, Ownwell has a 25% contingent fee, meaning you only pay when property taxes are reduced. You can put your property tax money back into your pockets in just minutes, and that means no stress and no big time investment. In fact, 86% of Ownwell's customers receive a reduction, and they will handle everything from start to finish, deliver top results with an average savings of, get this, $1,100 and exactly $2. Now that is precise. Sign up in under 3 minutes, and their team of local experts and cutting-edge technology can start saving you money with no upfront costs. It's easy and only requires a full details. So you can save money on your Cook County property taxes with Ownwell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your appeal at ownwell.com/cook. That's OWNWELL.com/cook.
New vehicles are in store. Where? At my man Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. And this is your chance to score a great deal at the Labor Day sales event. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory on Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. Right now, get up to $15,000 off MSRP or get 0% financing for 72 months on the new 2025 Jeep Wagoneer S. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. That team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey. And with that raised price promise, you can confidently shop with no add-ons and no hidden fees ever. The price you see is the price you're going to pay. It's just that simple. Don't miss out on the Labor Day sales event for huge savings on the Jeep Wagoneer S. For more information, visit Ray CDJR on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at raycdjr.com because they've been serving the community since 1963. Hanging out with y'all, man. CHGO Bulls. That's Will to Go Gottlieb. My name is Big Dave from the Big Red Bus podcast, along with his boy C-Red Fred and our friend C-Red Fred. That is the one and only, the Podfather, Doug Thonus. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Hit the like. Continue to send those comments in. Shout out to my man Fish. Shout out to Eco Bean, baby. We see y'all in the comments. We appreciate y'all. Let's talk about one Ayo Dosunmu, who you all know I love Ayo Dosunmu. It's one bull I just really don't want to trade. And for what I see on the court and for what I see off the court, I love the fact that he represents the Chicago Bulls. It's one of my favorites, man. Fits in anywhere, anything the Bulls kind of need. He is that kind of guy. Well, recently he just released a new video on his new vlog, and it has some interesting stuff in it that we should get into. He mentioned that he's traveled back, to the University of Illinois, spent time at their practice facility, spent time with the former coach, Brad Underwood. Shout out to him. Worked out while he was there with the former strength and conditioning coach, Adam Fletcher. And just seeing him out there on the floor, he didn't say, anything about, hey, my shoulder feels great or I feel wonderful, but just watching the activity of what he did out there on the floor kind of, lends credence to that. So it was exciting for me personally as a fan of his to see that out there. So I'm gonna start with you, Doug, on this, like seeing that and hearing this stuff about Ayo, like where's your excitement level for Ayo Dosunmu this season? And also, like, how important do you feel he is to the team on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball? Can
I start with something really embarrassing about when I watch this video?
Please.
So I don't know if you guys do this. When I'm listening to podcasts, when I'm watching YouTube videos, I often just put them on 2x speed so I can go through the content faster. And so I'm listening to this video just in the background, and I'm not really watching it because he's just talking about stuff. And then when I could tell he's working out and dribbling a basketball, I flip up the video. And for a brief moment, I forgot I had it on 2x speed. So I'm watching him dribble, and I'm like, oh my God, Ayo is the best dribbler I have ever seen in my life. Like, I cannot believe how fast his ball speed is.
He changed his release.
Like, this is incredible. Like, he's going to destroy people. And then and this is like the kind of thought, it's like near instant in your head, right? Like, I'm not thinking about it for 15 seconds. Like, you realize it, but then I was just like, oh my God, that's embarrassing. So now the world knows. But It was fun. Like, just, I believe everything you said. I'm the same way. Like, great dude. I'm super happy he's on the Bulls. He's like, a guy you love representing the team, a guy you love, just representing the city. I always stay at the I Hotel when I go to U of I, which I do at least once a year. So I thought it was hilarious. It's like, that is the place to stay if you go there. It's the nicest place down in Champaign. But I think he looked good. I mean, the timeline on his recovery was 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
He looked totally fine out there. I'd imagine it's a non-issue. The only thing that's like a bummer is you wonder, like, how much time he lost in terms of just all the practice and skills you might gain in the offseason by doing the rehab, right? Like, this is a time you might add stuff. So he lost some of that time, but I'm sure he'll be ready for the season. I'm not concerned about that at all. He looked like he was ready to go, right now. I don't think they showed him in any full scrimmage stuff on the video that I saw, but, he's getting up shots, he's dribbling, he's throwing the medicine ball against the wall, like, all that kind of stuff. Looks like the shoulder's fine. It was his left shoulder as well. I believe he's a righty, if I'm not going crazy. So it shouldn't impact his shot, which would be a bigger issue if it was on the right side. So I don't really have any concerns about him, being ready for the season. I do think, it's kind of a little bit always a bummer. I think this is the same with Patrick Williams, and I said this last year. Like, he lost so much of the offseason rehabbing the foot. I said he's going to start really slow. He's going to be out of shape. He's not going to be in condition. A foot is a lot worse than the shoulder because you can't run and you can't do all this other stuff. So Ayo won't be in quite that bad of a position, but I do think that, you would have seen more growth if he had the whole offseason to work on it. And I think he's such a hard worker that you would see more growth if he had that time. But I'm amped to see him come back because every time he's on the court and fully healthy, I mean, I think he really gives you a lot.
I feel like he's got the skill set of one of those players that you're talking about fitting around Giddey, of fast. He can get the ball up the court. He can defend at a high level. He can shoot it. His shooting has been up and down over his career. But to me, like, he's the kind of player that I don't think you're going to need to, like, they could probably extend him off of his number, which is probably going to be around like $18 or $20 million a year. I don't know exactly where it will come out with the 140% raises now. But there does seem to be sort of the sentiment of, like, it's got to be Kobe or Ayo or Kobe or Giddey. That the three of those guys can't really fit together. How do you view that? Do you feel like Ayo is a long-term fixture for the Bulls, and do you feel like it has to be him or Kobe, him or Giddey?
I think he definitely can fit in because he can also play small forward. I think, he's sized appropriately for it. He's got enough strength for it. He's got all the versatility for it. So I don't see any problem with that. If you look at the guys who are locked in theoretically long-term, let's say we lock into Kobe, we've got Trey Jones for a couple of years, we've got Okoro for a couple of years. You let Herter go next year, and I think you got plenty of minutes to bring Ayo back in and keep him in the fold. Whether we could extend him or not, I think it's, I hate answering cap questions without looking at them first, but I think it's like 140% of the mid-level exception is the most we can extend him at because it's the greater of the mid-level exception or his current contract. And so his current is under the MLE, and what the MLE is going to be maybe 14 million next year, around that number to start. So I don't know what the quick math on that is.
I think it's around like 18 or 20 million. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
It seems like that's about right. So yeah, I think there's a good chance you could do that. I think if he has a good year, you could easily see him being worth even more than that. But I think that's questionable enough. And because he didn't have like a big early contract, he doesn't have so much money that I think if you offered him, a full max extension, max being the max we can pay him, not anywhere near the NBA max, I think he would probably take it. And I would probably offer that, to be honest, just because, there's so many other intangible things to love about him. And I think the city and the team loves all those intangible things too. So, and he can fit into almost anything. So I would be comfortable doing that at whatever that number is, if he's willing to take it.
Yeah, and that's I see Fish asking, he's a positionless basketball player from 1 to 3, a winning role player. That's kind of was my next question. Like, I understand definitely a positionless guy, but on this team this year, I kind of see him not playing the point guard position as much. I kind of see him playing, backing up Kobe, definitely, kind of playing the 3 a little bit more. Do you kind of see it that way, or do you see him maybe still getting a little more time at the point guard position as well?
I kind of view him as maybe like Derek White on the Celtics is like sort of the comparison. Like, he's a good passer. He can be a good shooter. He can be a good defender. And maybe he's not going to be your primary ball handler, but it doesn't matter because anytime he gets the ball, he can still take someone off the dribble if he's got a little bit of an advantage. He can make the right pass when he needs to. Like those versatile skill guys can just kind of plug in anywhere. I don't know that being the full-time point guard is really his strongest suit anyway. I'm not sure he's good enough to be the full-time point guard. But then, if he needs to play point guard for a while, you're comfortable with it. So I love that. I think that's it's a great comment. 1 to 3 positionless fits really well. All those skills are additive, as your tertiary ball handler or your secondary ball handler. That's still really important to have on your team to create pressure on the defense. And he can fill in any of those spots, even if he's not primary on ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good comp. Dirk White, I think, is on a $28 million contract, and he's a much better shooter, more consistent. But that's the kind of player that you really need to have, whether it's in more of a primary featured role or somebody that can scale down and play next to a Jason Tatum and a Jaylen Brown, but still give you that ability to attack closeouts and create offense when the defense is shifting. And I think that's kind of, to your point, Doug, how the Bulls need to play this year is just to try to keep the defense on their heels at all times. In order to do that, you have to have guys that can dribble, pass, shoot. And to me, maybe I was the best two-way player on the team in that sense. I think there just aren't a lot of guys that you could make an argument for. And that's why I've always felt one, it's not an either or situation because I think Ayo can play with anybody. And two, as we talked about last week, I think there's a good chance Ayo starts. Maybe not a super high likelihood, but I know they bring in Okoro and you've got Herter back and he played well. Trey Jones was a huge, Billy Donovan guy. So I don't know, but to me, I would be open to that. And then I know there were some other quotes in there in that vlog about just his desire to make the playoffs. And I think him stepping into more of a leadership role is another element of this that, just somebody has to do that. This is a younger team. It's retooling, whatever you want to say. Arturas is, not going to come out and say they're rebuilding, but they are going younger. They are getting guys that, they're not all 18 years old like Noah Senge, but guys that are inexperienced and they need people that have been in the locker room with the Bulls that have that sort of institutional knowledge about the team and how they want to play to step into that leadership role. So I think that's another really valuable element. I don't know if we have a quote graphic for this, but I know Dave.
Yeah, let's get that up. Yeah, let's talk about that quote. Ayo talked about, the Bulls making the playoffs this year. He sounded, very motivated, to get the season going and to get the Bulls back in the playoffs. Let's take a look at that quote. Here's the quote. You say it, you write it down, you believe it. We're going to make the playoffs this year. You've got to say it. You've got to believe what you said. If you don't believe what you said, you're not going to be successful. Believe it. Keep saying it. We're making the playoffs. We're making the playoffs. We're making the playoffs. Anything you want to do, all the children out there and all the adults, whatever you want to do, say it. I love this very much because that is me. I am all about that kind of thing. I'll definitely say it and believe it and know it and execute it and go out there, be it that way. It's something that kids and adults can absolutely do. I'll ask you, Go, as far as that kind of affirmation, and that kind of visualization, how do you feel about Ayo Dosunmu approaching it, in this kind of way? I personally love it, and I hope a lot more of the players on the team are saying it because somebody has to start believing this more so than the actual fans and more so than the front office because they're the ones out there doing it.
Should I start with the good news first or the bad news?
Your favorite, sir. You hate to tell them. Go.
I mean,
go change who you are.
This is the goal. We have to make the playoffs. I get it, but it's is that really where the bar is right now? And I know it's steps forward and you have to get to the checkpoint before you can get to the next one, walk before you can run, all that stuff. Because I do agree with what he's saying. And I think if you're an NBA athlete or an athlete of any kind, you have to have that mentality because you have to block out the noise. You have to use the hate as motivation and hear what people say, but just turn it into effort and work and improvement. And so from Ayo's perspective, 1000%, I get this. And I agree that's how the players should be reacting to it and responding to it. And I know early this summer when I talked to Kevin Herter for that story, he was saying the same thing. So I think that is just generally speaking how these people who are just achievers at the highest level in their given profession, regardless of what that is, like you have to have irrational confidence. You have to have that sort of belief, and you have to have that sort of self-affirmation and motivation to be able to get to that point. At the same time, like the playoffs that should be like the bare minimum, I think. I don't know how you would feel, Doug.
I would say, I'm probably too autistic to think this way. I'm just like, nope, this is just straight facts. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. Like my attitude towards it. Like I always carry a positive attitude in life towards everything. But I don't actually think like me writing this down, me doing whatever. I don't think saying it doesn't mean anything to me. You know what matters? How many hours I put in the gym, how many hours I spend on my craft, how many hours I do whatever. I would rather have our guys be irrationally confident than not. Like I don't think very many people function in the way I function that way. But like I think in the end, it's like, yep, I want everyone to put as much work as they can, do all the work, try to get there. For the players, they have to think about making the playoffs. As someone who thinks more about the management side, I think like even if you make the playoffs and then you get all these unrestricted free agents and you're trying to figure out how you rebuild the team and how you take another step forward, like it's not just like you're linearly growing. You have to do new contracts. You have to bring in new people. You're changing pieces all the time. So it's not just like, oh, we took one step forward. Now we're going to take another step forward. You know, this isn't just like running a straight race. Each time you take a step, you're going to take a next step. You have to actively plan like years in advance to put together something that's going to roll that way. And you guys probably know my massive love for Sam Presti, having followed me for a long time. Like you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I talked about this like 5-6 years ago. It was right around the Vooch trade. I was like, the Thunder are doing everything right, and we're doing everything wrong. And people are like, oh, they're not going to do anything. They have all these picks. Nothing's going to happen. Like you can't just build around picks. And I said, it's not that they have picks. You can build around them. It's like you have so many. You're going to get lucky eventually. Mm-hmm. You know, like part of it is just a game of just stacking the odds in your favor. Like, yeah, if you have one pick, it's probably not going to work. But when you have like 3 first-round picks every year, you're going to get lucky eventually. And you're going to have all these cheap contracts. And so the Bulls aren't thinking about that 4D chess or whatever you want to call it. They're just like, nope, we're going to win this little deal. We're going to win this little deal. So that was maybe a big distraction from Ayo. I love what Ayo said. I love the quote. I love the attitude. I hope everyone has it. You know, that's great. I hope he brings that attitude. I hope the Bulls bring that attitude. Players should always try to win games. They should always be doing the best they can. Billy Donovan should be coaching to win games. That's their job. Arturas's job is to figure out what we're doing over 5 years and put those pieces in place. But once you're on the floor, you should be doing every single thing you can to grind out a win every game. Players do not tank. Like fans sometimes think we should tank. I do not want Ayo Dosunmu to ever tank a game in his life or anyone else on the team. Like your job is to go out there and give everything you have. That's what you're doing on the floor. And so, you know, that attitude I love. I hope he brings it. I hope they make the playoffs because they're clearly not going to go for the draft. You know, if they were, that would be different, but they're not. So I'd rather make the playoffs and end up being 10th and being, you know, losing the first play-in. Like of those two scenarios, playoffs is way better. And I think they actually have a reasonable chance at it. I think maybe better than most, even though I'm not high about the future. The East is a disaster. Like who else are you going to take in this conference this year? Like so many teams have so many questions. So I think they actually have a much better chance than ESPN and other magazines are giving them. They even have so much depth. Like I don't think an injury would even do that much to them. Like if they lost Trey Jones or Ayo or you know, maybe Kobe is the only guy I think if they lose, I'm like, what are they going to do now? Because he's really the only great volume shooter they have. But anyone else, like I feel like they could even lose a guy and it's not going to have that big an impact compared to other teams that are like very, very thin. So I think they have a good shot at it. And I whatever. I wish them success in the plan that they're going for, which is definitely playoff driven.
Yeah, I think players should never live in the true realm of reality when they're out on the floor. Like you shouldn't be thinking that, you know, you shouldn't be a realist. Like I don't like my greats as a realist. There's no great I know of that's a realist. They're definitely an in the moment kind of guy who makes in their mind ridiculous goals and everybody calls them crazy for them. And then when they accomplish them, that's how kind of greatness happens. So that no player should live in that realm. That realm is reserved for front office. That's who should be living in the realm of reality. Like when your front office is not living in that realm with you, then you've got a problem. You know what I mean? You have a real issue. So, no, I love how Ayo was approaching it. Like you said, Doug, I wish them the best with it. Like, I love how he's looking at it. I just love the fact that he said it because I haven't really heard it said from players on our team, about this kind of stuff. Like, hey, let's just have a good season. Hopefully things work out. Like, no, I want to go to the playoffs. Like, I need somebody to start saying these things who wears a jersey on the team and gets out there on the floor. And I love how much more vocal Ayo has become. And Go, you mentioned that as far as like his leadership. He has absolutely grown from that rookie that we knew to, the veteran that we see now. So now he speaks with guys like Modest Zealous, who I know believes the Bulls are going to go to the playoffs. Like, his mindset is there. So I believe that's very important to how you, play the game, how you approach the game. You know what I'm saying? Those things are really, truly important. But your front office is the only ones that should be in reality and not on the floor with those guys thinking they can, no, you guys got it. It's going to be okay. No, you need to set them up so what they're saying isn't completely, crazy and things like that. So that's how I roll with it. But I agree with you. I love Ayo. I love how he's saying it. I love how he's doing it. I want to ask you guys before we get out of here, this final thing I want to get into you guys with is the Bulls have several like unknowns on the team, like several of them. Josh Giddey continuing, can he continue what we saw him do in that second half? Modest Zealous taking that leap in year 2. Like, how real can that be? You just mentioned Ayo Dosunmu. How strong can he be coming back off of that shoulder surgery? Kobe White ascending to like an all-star like Kobe White, which is the next step kind of for him. You've got others like Julian Phillips and his growth, Dalen Terry and his, Noah Essengay and what he can do, Trey Jones. Like, all these guys, there are all these true unknowns on this team. So I wanted to know from you guys what you feel, and I'll start with you, Doug. What you feel is the biggest unknown for the Bulls this season that you feel needs to be proven like immediately, like when the season is starting?
It's an interesting way to put it. The biggest unknown is probably Josh Giddey in terms of what will be proven, because he's been in the league a pretty long period of time. He's had a pretty short period of time of this high level of success. And so I think pretty quickly you're going to see, is that a fluke or is that a real thing? So many of the games at the end of last season were against teams intentionally trying to lose, or you got like the Nuggets without Jokic, you got the Pacers without Halliburton. So maybe not intentionally trying to lose, but then a really low-end roster. And so I think that's like the number one thing that you'll kind of get evidence towards. Slightly different question, but I think still fits into what you're saying, is the most impactful thing, I think, is what happens with Modest. I don't think you're going to get the answer to that thing as quickly. And I don't think it's as important to get it as quickly. Like, Modest may not have an amazing sophomore year. A lot of guys kind of struggle in that sophomore year and break out in their third or fourth year. So I'm not going to be beside myself for like, oh, this guy stinks, if he doesn't have all the output or lives up to the expectations that people are kind of putting on him. And I think the expectations have really kind of run ahead of where I think he's going to land. And I really like him as a prospect. I do think he has star potential down the line. Not that he'll necessarily hit it, but I can definitely see the path. Like, all of the base skills are there if it works out. But I don't expect to see that next year. Like, I really don't. And I think a lot of people are starting to expect to see it already. Like, I think it's just probably going to take another year. But I think Josh Giddey at the end of next year, you're going to know. Like, you're going to know what that is. If you talk about the other ones, like Kobe White, I just don't see all-star Kobe White, like, for a variety of reasons. Ayo, I think, is a very good player, but I don't think he's going to ascend to this other level. I think he's going to remain kind of like Derek White is like the upside I see if everything pans out. And that would be amazing. Like, I'd love that for Ayo, and I'd love that for the Bulls, but I don't look at that as like, oh my God, that's going to make or break a championship team. So Giddey and Modest are the two guys that can really move the needle on their outcome a whole lot, and Giddey is the one I think you'll find out really quickly on.
Yeah, I think to your point, Dave, from the other day, our conversation, like, you're going to have to find out right away, and kind of regardless of what the outcome is, you're going to, because if he plays well, then you have more confidence in the way that he finished. But if he plays poorly, then you know that the way that he finished was maybe not representative of who he actually is. And there will be those ups and downs. And hopefully he can start to level those out so it's not so extreme as he gets more experience. But, Iko been saying he's only 22. Like, he's been in the league 4 years. And I think to Doug's point, it's not necessarily just about your age. It's about how much experience you have and how long it takes a lot of these guys to get to that point. And so for me, like, obviously Modest and Giddey are the two big ones. Giddey, like, the contract is going to be, in the next probably month or so happening, just ahead of the October 1st deadline when the qualifying offer gets, rescinded or pulled. Modest is going to have longer term development. He's going to take a little bit more time. I agree with you there, Doug. But I think Kobe, like, I don't know what his ceiling is. He's been sort of this figure where he has not really progressed at like a normal rate. Like, he has taken a longer time to really explode and turn into the player that he was, not just at the end of last season, but the end of the season before. When Zach was down, he really stepped up and put up basically near most improved player of the year type of. And so I think they really need to figure out how good he is and how sustainable his brand of play is. Because if you look around the league, I mean, these guys are just not really valued. Like, even if you're a little bit bigger, like 6'4", 6'5" shooting guards who are not primary creators, who are not elite defenders, they're just not really valued around the league. I mean, the Celtics just traded Drew Holiday, who was a bad contract, for Anthony Simons, and they're trying to flip Simons. They can't because nobody wants him at $21 million. Norman Powell just got dumped on the Heat, another similar player. And like, these are really talented guys. I'm not saying that they're not, and I'm not even saying Kobe is worse than them. I think Kobe's probably on the high end of what those guys can be. It's just that the league is not really valuing that player archetype right now. And I think you need to get to just really elite within that role, like a Desmond Bane, who I think, 4 first-round picks, 5, whatever it was, like, even that was a pretty hefty price to pay. So I think, especially with his contract coming up, and I'm curious, Doug, how you would handle all of that. But Kobe's next season, especially with his free agency coming up, is like the big unknown for me.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doug.
I think the big problem with someone like Kobe, and I think you alluded to it, is if you are not good enough to be a number one option, then you better be good at shooting threes and playing defense. Like, that's kind of it. Like, if you're not good enough to be a number one option, then you have to do those two other things. And any player who doesn't do both of those other things is in kind of like in a questionable fit. Like, you want guys who are 1A or 1B. You want two of those types of guys, and then everyone else is a 3-and-D player. Like, the NBA has become very meta-oriented of like, this is how you win. And Kobe, maybe he could be the 1B guy if everything goes right, or like the 2A guy, whatever. But I feel like he's just not good enough. And then, so now, to your point, you got a guy who's a good scorer, good shooter, but doesn't really play great defense and doesn't add a lot of these other things. And it's just like, yeah, how much do you want to pay that guy? Is the guy probably asking for $30 million and is probably worth like 20-something million, low 20s on the market. And that puts you in a weird spot because he's unrestricted. And so now you're either going to have to pay up right away because he could leave if you don't, and he'll be one of the better free agents because no one makes it to free agency anymore. So he'll be one of the top tier free agents if he has a good year. And that just puts a lot of pressure on the organization to figure out what to do. So that's kind of my thoughts there. And that's why it's just a tricky situation. And again, getting back to what's the 5-year plan or like 3-year plan.
Yeah.
You've got all these guys, and how are they going to fit on their new deals? That's the hard part of what management is going through.
I agree with Will. For me, it's Kobe White, strictly because he showed levels of he could be a star more so than I was looking at Josh Giddey in that second half of the year. Like, Kobe White and what he did, it wasn't just us recognizing it. When the league starts recognizing what you're doing and they start rewarding you for what you're doing, and you win Eastern Conference Player of the Month, something that hadn't been done since DeMar DeRozan. When you start doing those things, that puts a different set of eyeballs and a different set of expectations on you, especially going into your final year for your contract, man. Like, there's a lot to prove and a lot on the table. There's a lot more money he can get if he, ascends to that level. And I just really feel like if he starts proving that and gets to that point, I mean, the sky could be, the limit for that young man. And I'm just excited for him, man. I'm a wrap it there. Doug, thank you for coming on this show. Make sure you're checking out his podcast, The Big Red Bus. I said The Big Red Bus with our guy, Fred Pfeiffer. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. It is Doug_Thonus. Do I have that correct?
I think that's right. Honestly, I don't even know, but that sounds about right.
Yes. Well, then that's Will_Gottlieb right there. That is perfectly quaff. You can follow me on Twitter if you like, @BallSports. Shout out to Katie back in the driver's seat on production, handling the ones and twos. Thank y'all for being in the comments and dropping your knowledge there as well. We will be back with you guys after the holiday. Full crew will be in the house. Thank y'all for rolling with us. Thank y'all for joining us. We appreciate you. We love you. We out. Peace. We all silly like the mayor.